Hi there, I'm Lorelai. I showed up to the family birthday dinner I paid for, only to find an empty room. No calls, no mix-up, just silence. Then my dad laughed and said, "It was yesterday." That was the moment I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a message. And that night, I started unraveling years of quiet betrayals, stolen money, erased invitations, even my name used for credit fraud. How long had they been doing this behind my back? And why did no one ever stop it? What kind of family does that to their own? The parking lot was quiet, too quiet. Not a single car I recognized. No familiar chatter, no cigarette smoke curling behind the dumpster like usual when my cousins tried to act slick. Just me, the hum of my engine, and that growing sense in my gut that something wasn't right. I double-checked the message on my phone. Friday, 7 p.m., Mateo's. Can't wait to see everyone, Mom. Sent 2 weeks ago. It was Friday. It was 7:02 p.m. I was right on time, like a damn fool. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with clinking glasses and low jazz, but the private dining room I'd reserved was dark, locked. I approached the hostess stand. "Hi," I said, trying to sound composed. "I'm with the Wendell party, private room." She scanned her list and blinked. "That was yesterday." "No, it's today," I said, already feeling my throat tighten. She shrugged. 16 people. Big cake. Your mom brought name cards. They had a good time." My stomach dropped. I didn't say another word. I turned and walked outside, dialing my dad before I hit the curb. He picked up on the second ring, voice light like nothing was off. "Oh, hey, sweetheart," he said. "Everything all right?" I paused. "Where is everybody?" He chuckled, like I'd asked what day it was. "We did it last night. Figured you were caught up with work or something. Don't worry, we brought you leftovers." I didn't answer. I just hung up. Back in the car, I stared at my reflection in the windshield. For a few long seconds, I didn't feel anything. Not anger, not sadness, just blank. Then it hit me. This wasn't a miscommunication. This wasn't a mix-up. This was deliberate. They'd planned a party. They used my money. And they made damn sure I wouldn't be there. This wasn't the first time I'd been left out. But it was the first time they didn't bother to lie about it. I sat in silence. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Some meaningless notification I didn't care to read. The memory of my dad's voice clung to me, sticky and cold. "We brought you leftovers." I had been erased from my own family's event. They didn't forget me. They chose to remove me. I leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling of the car, letting the heaviness settle. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, but I knew something had shifted. The kind of shift you don't come back from. They made it clear. I wasn't just an afterthought this time. I was the sacrifice. I didn't go straight home. I drove aimlessly for a while, past dim strip malls, closed shops, gas stations humming under flickering lights. At some point, I ended up outside my apartment complex, engine still running. That familiar ache pressed behind my eyes, but I refused to let it win. Not tonight. Back inside, I kicked off my shoes and dropped my purse on the floor. I didn't bother turning on the lights. My apartment wasn't much, but it was mine. And at least within these walls, no one pretended I didn't exist. I collapsed onto the bed without changing, pulled out my phone, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't not. There it was, my mother's latest Facebook post. Family Forever Dad's special night. 17 photos, one after another, my family smiling wide, cake slices half-eaten, wine glasses raised, candles flickering. Everyone looked full of joy, of laughter, full of each other. There was no empty chair, no wish you were here comment, not even a blurry corner where I might have been cropped out. I wasn't there, physically or emotionally, and clearly they liked it that way. I clicked through them again, slower this time. Aunt Beverly's gaudy earrings, Marcia's ridiculous blouse with fake pearls, Derek's smug grin holding up a beer I probably paid for. They were proud of this, of leaving me out, and worst of all, they made it look good. No one reached out. Not a single message, no cousin, no secondhand apology, not even Elias, who used to claim he hated how they treated me. I scrolled back to the group chat. 23 unread messages from the day before, all of them laughing, confirming the plan. My last message, looking forward to seeing everyone, Friday at 7 p.m., Mateo's. Just sat there, blue check marks glowing like scars. No replies. Left on red. They hadn't forgotten. They'd all agreed to ignore me. I dropped the phone onto the bed. My chest felt tight, not from panic, just pressure, like my body had run out of room to store disappointment. I forced myself up and walked to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. I didn't look at the mirror right away. When I did, it hit me. I wasn't grieving being left out. I was realizing they'd finally stopped pretending to include me. The caption echoed in my head. So grateful to have everyone here like the good old days. Everyone. That word stung more than I expected. I had been erased, quietly, cleanly, deliberately. I walked back into the bedroom, took a breath, and opened my photo gallery. I'd kept every family picture, every dumb group shot, every blurry Thanksgiving selfie. I started scrolling, then selecting. One by one, I marked them. Hundreds of memories, smiles I'd once thought were real. Then I tapped, delete all shared albums. For a moment, I hesitated, my thumb hovered. But then I whispered, barely louder than a breath, maybe I need to start erasing too. The screen went black after I hit delete. For a long moment, I just sat there, phone on my chest, eyes fixed on the ceiling as if it could explain anything. The hum of my fridge in the background reminded me I was still here, still awake, still alone. My mind drifted to last November, Thanksgiving. I'd spent days planning, bought the turkey, the pies, the wine, nearly $800 all in. My apartment smelled like cinnamon and butter. I was proud of it. But at 10 a.m. that morning, I got a text from Mom. Maybe sit this one out, emotions are high. No explanation, no follow-up, just that. I remember sitting at my table, full spread untouched, watching Friends reruns on mute. I ended up eating pad thai from the corner takeout, alone. That wasn't even the worst part. 2 years ago, they invited me to what Mom called a healing dinner. When I got there, everyone was seated at one long candlelit table. My place was at a fold-up tray in the corner, salad and sparkling water waiting. I asked Mom if there had been a mistake. She smiled like I was overreacting. You're doing that clean eating thing, right? I hadn't said that in years. It was always like that. Twisted kindness disguised as concern. Smiles with strings attached. And money? Forget it. I became their go-to fix. When Derek's car broke down, I paid. When Mom's property taxes slipped, I covered them. When Emily, Marcia's daughter, needed preschool tuition, I sent the check. They never said thank you. Not really. Maybe once Mom sent a card. She misspelled my name, not Lorelei. She wrote Laurel, after 34 years. But what cut deepest wasn't just what they did. It was what they expected. They acted like I owed it to them, because I had no kids, because I was doing well, because I didn't need much. That was their code for, you're the one we can drain and leave behind. Lying on my bed now, I realized something clicked. None of this was accidental. It was a pattern, designed, maintained, and I was the only one not in on the joke. I sat up and grabbed my phone again, opened the group chat. There it was, my message from 2 weeks ago, still sitting between Mom's pot roast photo and Derek's dumb meme about real men eat ribs. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Friday at 7 p.m. Mateo's. Not a single response. I scrolled to Elias. My thumb hovered over call, but instead I typed, I just need to know one thing. Was it planned? I set the phone down beside me and waited. 10 minutes, then 20. I left the app open like a dare. The read receipt came quickly. The reply never did. By the time the clock on my stove blinked 1:38 a.m., I was pacing between the kitchen and the living room. I'd made tea, didn't drink it, ran a bath, let it go cold. My mind ran in loops I couldn't stop, until the screen finally lit up again. Elias had messaged back, but it wasn't to me. It was meant for Derek. She messaged me. Not gonna lie, she looks hurt, but she'll get over it. She always does. Then, less than a minute later, she never fights back. Chill. My stomach dropped. I reread it twice, then 3 more times. So it wasn't just that they left me out. It was that they counted on me not reacting. Elias, of all people, had been the one I thought might see me. He used to say things like, "You're the sane one in the circus." But apparently, I was also the predictable one. The one they all trusted to swallow her pain quietly and move on. I sank onto the couch, phone resting in my lap like dead weight. It all clicked then. Every sideways comment, every deflection, every "you know how they are" when I tried to talk to Elias about how they treated me. He knew. He always knew. And he let it happen, because it was easier than standing up to them. I opened our chat history. Message after message. Him changing the subject, dodging, minimizing. Never once defending me. Not really. Just enough sympathy to keep me from walking away completely. I stood up and opened the cabinet drawer under my TV. Pulled out an old notebook. Leather-bound, barely used. I hadn't touched it in years. At the kitchen counter, I flipped to a blank page and wrote across the top, "Debt ledger 5 years." Then I started listing names. Derek, $2,100. Car repairs, Marcia, $1,800. Emily's tuition, Mom, $3,400. Property taxes, cruise deposit, Dad, $620. Overdue electric bills, liquor store tab page after page. No anger, just numbers, facts, a record they never thought I'd keep. When I ran out of names, I drew a hard black line under the last entry. And beneath that line, I wrote in block letters, "I owe them nothing." It had been 2 days since I wrote the ledger, 2 days of silence, no calls, no apologies, not even an awkward emoji from Elias trying to save face. I didn't expect remorse, but part of me still thought someone might at least pretend to care. They didn't. Sunday afternoon, I sat at the edge of my couch, phone in hand. My fingers hesitated over Mom's name, then tapped. She answered after 3 rings, voice sugar-sweet. "Well, look who finally calls. We were just talking about you." I didn't bother with greetings. "I know you moved the dinner on purpose. I know what Elias said. I'm not calling to fight. I'm calling to set terms." A pause. Then the chuckle I knew too well. "Oh, come on, Lorelai. Don't be so dramatic. You've always been sensitive." "You thought I was working late," I said flatly. "Sweetheart, Derek really needed that night. He's been going through a lot, and we had to pick a time that worked for everyone. Everyone but me, of course." I took a breath, steadying myself. "Let's talk about last Christmas." Mom's voice hardened a bit. "What about it?" "You asked if I could help buy gifts. I said yes. You said you'd pay me back." "Didn't I?" she asked, like this was all ancient history. "You used my Amazon account without permission. $700 in toys and electronics. No heads up, no apology." Silence. Then, "You always say money isn't important to you, so why are you acting like it is now?" I let that sit for a beat. "Because it's not just about the money. It's about you using my name like it belongs to you." Her voice dropped. "Don't do this to us." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. "I'm not doing anything to you. I'm finally doing something for myself." I stood and walked to the window, watching the trees bend in the breeze. "From now on, anything you want, money, favors, even my presence, comes with a cost. And I'm no longer giving discounts." Mom didn't respond. I could hear the TV in the background, some sitcom laugh track echoing, wildly inappropriate. "And Mom," I added, voice calm but sharp, "if you or Derek ever use my name again without permission, I won't just speak up. I'll make it official. Legally." More silence. Then the line went dead. I stared at the phone for a few seconds, then set it down. My hands trembled slightly. But inside, there was stillness. Later that evening, I logged in to check my credit report. A habit now. Protective reflex. And there it was. A new credit card account, opened 2 days ago. My name, my address. I hadn't touched a credit application in months. My eyes narrowed. They didn't even wait a week. The moment I saw the account, something inside me clicked off, like a switch from grief to calculation. It was Monday morning, barely past 8, and I was already seated at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee and my laptop open to the fraud portal. I reviewed the charges: electronics, a spa voucher, subscription boxes for luxury beauty items. Total balance, $4,112, all of it under my name. My credit score had already taken the hit. I called the fraud hotline. "Thank you for calling. How can we assist?" the agent asked. "I need to report identity theft," I said clearly. "The account is under my name, but I didn't open it." She took the details down. then asked the question I'd been expecting. Do you suspect who might have done this? My brother, I said without hesitation. There was a pause. You're not the first one to say that, she replied almost gently. Family-based identity theft is more common than people think. I'm sorry. I uploaded copies of my credit report, screenshots of texts, group messages, Elias's slip-up. She gave me a case number and advised I file a police report. I already had the form downloaded. Around noon, my phone rang again, this time from the loan officer I'd spoken with last month about a mortgage. I'm sorry, Miss Wendell, he said, voice tight. Due to the new account and lowered credit score, your mortgage pre-approval has been denied. I thanked him. Hung up. No shaking this time. I walked over to my printer, pulled out the denial letter, slid it into a red folder labeled Evidence. An hour later, I stood inside the Spokane Police Department. The woman at the front desk handed me a clipboard. A detective came out 10 minutes later, a tall woman with tired eyes but sharp attention. We've seen cases like this. When it's family, people hesitate. Are you ready to name a suspect? Yes, I said. His name is Derek Wendell. She nodded. Do you have proof of motive or opportunity? I have patterns, I replied, and purchases tied to his lifestyle. We scheduled a formal statement. I left with a copy of my report, stamped and dated. At home, I closed my laptop and stared at the wall for a moment. This wasn't about feelings anymore. This was about boundaries. I picked up my phone, opened the family group chat, and typed slowly. We need to talk. Mom's house, Friday, 7 p.m. No explanations, no smiley faces, just a reckoning. I pulled into the driveway at exactly 6:58 p.m. The porch light was on, just like always, glowing soft against the chipped white siding. The same welcome mat from 10 Christmases ago still sat crooked by the front door. Inside, nothing had changed, and that made my skin crawl. Derek was on the recliner, shoveling chips into his mouth. Dad didn't even look up from the TV. Mom, Marcia, was smoothing the couch cushions like we were hosting neighbors, not reckoning. We weren't sure you'd show, she said, voice sweet but thin. I'm not here to catch up, I replied. I'm here to settle things. I placed the red folder on the coffee table with a thud. Dad raised an eyebrow. I opened it and pulled out copies of the fraudulent credit card statements, my denied mortgage letter, screenshots of text messages, timestamps, and purchase receipts. Then I slid one forward, pointing at Derek. That spa package your girlfriend posted on Instagram last week? Bought with a card opened in my name. Derek sat up, laughing through a scoff. You're seriously doing this? I didn't blink. I'm not doing anything. The Spokane Police Department is. His face changed, cocky, twisted into pale. Mom stepped forward fast, voice cracking. Lorelei, we didn't know. He thought you wouldn't mind. He needed it. He or you too? I asked, cutting her off. From the folder, I pulled out a yellowed piece of paper, a juvenile court record, dated 2009. You forged my name to get Derek out of juvenile custody. I was out of state. You never told me. Marcia's hand flew to her chest. That was years ago. You were doing so well, you just thought I'd never find out. Dad slammed the remote on the coffee table. So what? You want to ruin your brother's life over a couple of bills? Derek shot up. You always thought you were better than us. That's the truth. No, I said calmly, standing my ground. I thought we were family. That was the lie. Mom crumbled into sobs. We did what we had to do. You didn't need help. He did. He always did. Derek sneered. You've always been the outsider. Just admit it. I met his eyes. No, you made me the outsider, and now I'm making it permanent. Silence swelled in the room, thick and raw. Then Elias, who'd been quiet in the corner, finally spoke. She's not lying. I was there when they moved the dinner. They laughed, said she'd be too dramatic anyway. Every pair of eyes snapped to him. He didn't flinch. This wasn't an oversight, he added. It was on purpose. I looked at them, one by one. This was never a family, it was a con. Elias's words hung in the air like a match over gasoline. No one moved. Marcia's face twisted, rage simmering behind her eyes. She looked at Elias with disbelief. You had no right. He didn't flinch. You had no heart. That was the moment something inside me stopped clenching. I looked at Elias and gave the smallest nod. Thank you. That's the first honest thing I've heard in this house in years. I reached into my bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. I placed it calmly on the coffee table. Here's the invoice for Mateo's, I said. $1,740. Divide it however you want, or don't. I won't be following up. Derek barked out a laugh. Wow, this is next level petty. I kept my voice steady. No, this is clarity. This is me refusing to fund my own humiliation ever again. You always gotta make it about money, he snapped. That's why nobody wants you around. You're cold. You keep score. I didn't keep score, I said, standing tall. I documented injury. I handed Elias the red folder. You can make copies. Pass them around. I'm done hiding the truth to protect people who use it as a weapon. Marcia sat down, silent, pale. I turned to them. Dad still stone-faced. Derek still furious. Marcia quietly weeping. This is the line, I said. If you ever use my name, my credit, my time, or even speak about me like I owe you something, my response will be legal, not emotional. Wendell finally spoke. So what? You're just walking out? Like we're strangers? No, I said quietly. I'm walking out because you made me a stranger a long time ago. I'm just finally agreeing with you. I turned to leave. The room didn't stop me. No one begged. No one moved. But just as I reached the door, I heard Marcia's voice behind me, soft and shaken. What will people say? I paused, hand on the doorknob. They'll say I finally chose myself, I said. And I'll say, it's about time. 3 months later, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment on the quiet side of Bend, Oregon. I found it through a friend of a friend. Rent was half what I paid in Spokane. The walls were thin, but the peace was mine. The first thing I noticed in my new life was silence, and how it didn't feel empty anymore. I drank coffee on my porch in the mornings without checking my phone. I went grocery shopping without running calculations in my head. I didn't feel like I was drowning in someone else's mess. Then one Tuesday, a plain white envelope slid through my mail slot. No return address. Inside, a check, $870, and a note. Elias's handwriting was unmistakable. I don't expect forgiveness, but thank you for doing what I never had the guts to. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. But I folded the check and placed it between the pages of my journal. Not to cash, just to remember. Word traveled slowly, but it traveled. Derek had lost his job. Rumors circled about a flagged background check. Credit issues he couldn't explain away. Marcia wasn't kicked out of church, but I heard she no longer led the women's study group. Too many whispers. Wendell? Nothing. Not a call, not a text. Just silence. And it didn't hurt anymore. It just felt like confirmation. I left the family group chat. No one noticed. Not even a missed birthday call this year. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt unburdened. Some evenings, I'd walk past the corner bookstore. One day I went in, bought a blank journal. That night, I sat at the little desk by my window, opened to the first page and wrote, "This story began with them, but it ends with me." I closed the cover and took a deep breath. Not of relief, of readiness. There would always be scars, but scars meant I had healed. And healing was a story too. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've sat at a table you paid for and realized you were never truly invited. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Family isn't just who shares your last name. It's who shows up when you're silent, who defends you when it costs them something, who values you without needing to benefit. Walking away wasn't easy. It never is. But sometimes healing requires distance. And sometimes choosing yourself is the bravest form of love there is. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you were taught to love? What did that moment teach you? Let me know in the comments. Drop a 1 if this story spoke to your heart. Or tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to know. And if you didn't connect with this video, tell me why. I'm listening. And if this kind of real, raw storytelling matters to you, hit subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. Because sometimes, the stories we need most are the ones that tell the truth. Thanks for spending this time with me. You weren't alone here, and neither was I.